How would you react if you could go into the 2025 trail season feeling stronger and faster than ever? Hi, I'm Catherine. I'm the personal trainer and running coach of Kathletics. Here at Kathletics, we are all about meeting you where you are in your fitness so you can hybrid train in a sustainable way. Racing season will be wrapping up within the next month or so now is the time to be thinking about your off-season training. This is the time of year where once your race is over, you might take some time off. Maybe you have a little bit more work going on with conference season approaching. Maybe you're just wanting to take time off because the holidays are coming up and you want to spend more time with family and friends. Or maybe you've just enjoyed taking time off from training because you've had a long year of ultra-focused training. Although all of those things are completely valid, I really encourage you to think about what your goals are for the 2025 season and think about how you can implement your training for this off season to help you achieve those goals for the 2025 season. Think about what could happen if you took this off season over the next 4 to 6 months and really focused on building strength, gaining muscle, and building your aerobic base so you can set yourself up for success. Now, I understand that 4 to 6 months may seem like it's a long time, but I promise you it's not. 4 to 6 months from now, you're looking at between January and March. Now, if you have a race in October or November, then you're even pushing it back further. That could go all the way up to May. But those months are not that far off from where we are now. Especially by the time you are all finished with your race or running season this year, then if you take some time off, just post-race, a few days or even up to a couple weeks, that training goes by and then, it's the end of the year, the holidays are here, and then, it's January and we're like, crap, we haven't started training yet. So we need to really focus right now and take advantage of the off season and have a plan in place for when your race is over, when your peak running season is over, and we get right to the nitty-gritty of the off-season training plan. So what does off-season training look like? So before we get into the specifics with strength training and aerobic training, I wanted to talk about how there's ebbs and flows of the trail season throughout the year. So in your in-season, you're probably going to see an increase in run training volume and then a decrease in strength training volume. So in the off-season, we have the opposite. So those things are going to shift where the off-season strength training is going to increase and then your off-season run training is going to decrease in volume. Now, this is the exact training schedule that my hybrid training program, Kathletics Trail, follows because this program is specifically for those who are runners or hikers and typically follow that in season during the late spring to early fall and then off season being late fall to early spring. So we tend to follow those seasonal ebbs and flows to accommodate accordingly. So when we get specific with the off-season strength training plan, we want to think about increasing our strength training from what was maybe 0 to 3 sessions per week during the in-season to about 2 to 4 sessions during the off-season. Those 2 to 4 days per week are going to give you the opportunity to gain muscle, build strength, and really focus on building power and setting yourself up for success to feel strong and capable on and off the trails. Within your strength training sessions, I really recommend focusing on a full body workout plan. So with the full body workouts, I prefer that over the upper and lower body splits, just because then if you have a week where you can do 2 sessions and then the next week you can do 4, you have some flexibility in order to make sure you're getting your frequency, make sure you're hitting your glutes, your quads, your hamstrings, your back, your shoulders, your chest, all of the big muscle groups along with the small muscle groups, which are all necessary to 1, support your life, but 2, support the sport that you love the most, which is running. But it's important to know that you don't necessarily need to be in the gym for an extreme amount of time. You don't need to be in there for 90 plus minutes working out. You can get an efficient and focused lift in 45 to 60 minutes, which is exactly what my hybrid training programs offer. So when it comes to those lifting sessions, we want to make sure that we're lifting heavy enough in order to make sure that we're building strength, gaining muscle, and really reaping the benefits of doing these sessions. So there has been some hesitancy that I've come across with runners before around lifting, so I wanted to talk about those things and maybe debunk a little bit with those thoughts. So I have come across some runners who have been hesitant to lift because they don't want to get bulky, they don't want to gain weight. Maybe they're scared they're going to get too sore where it impacts their runs. Or maybe they just don't really like lifting and they haven't found a program that's right for them. Now, all of those reasons are valid, but I think that we can overcome those by having a further discussion. So first things first, lifting does not inherently mean you're going to gain weight. Gaining weight is going to come from a calorie surplus. So without a calorie surplus, lifting alone is not going to allow you to gain weight. But what lifting can do is increase your bone density, increase your strength, improve your endurance, increase your power output. It can increase your muscle mass. And these are all really positive things that are impactful both as a runner and to support your life in general. As for soreness, if there is a fear of becoming too sore that is going to affect your runs, it really comes down to your recovery. So your recovery is going to include your stress management, your sleep, and your nutrition. Things like that are all going to have an effect on your recovery. So if you're experiencing soreness for a day or two and it's a new program or new exercises, that's totally understandable. But if you're seeing excessive or lingering amounts of soreness, then that's really when you want to take a look at your recovery and make sure that you are addressing those factors. Or if it's beyond that and it is the training program, maybe the training program isn't meeting you where you are, and that's when we need to assess that. All that to say, in order to make sure you are lifting heavy enough, we want to use something like the rate of perceived exertion scale, or we can use the reps in reserve scale. So leaving 1 to 3 reps left in the tank, that is going to be lifting heavy. That is going to feel hard. When I refer to that, that is exactly where I like to have my hybrid clients or those who are both running and lifting weights or trying to increase their running performance. If you're just starting out, you might not know what that feels like, and that's totally valid. That is a skill that will develop over time, but one thing that can be helpful is by lifting your max weight for either 1 rep, 5 reps, or 10 reps, and just to see where you're at, and then you can work backwards based on that weight or based on that rep range and work from there in order to find what works for you and to make sure that you're lifting heavy enough to get your results. Now to move on to the running portion of the off-season training. So first things first, we are not stopping running during the off-season. We want to make sure that we are continuing to run just at a lesser scale so our volume and our intensity is down, but we are still running throughout the off-season. Depending on your experience and your 2025 trail goals, we want to make sure that we are adjusting and maintaining some sort of maintenance mileage throughout the off season. So again, depending on your goals, depending on your experience, that could be 10 miles a week, that could be 25 miles a week, maybe higher, maybe lower. It really just depends on what your goals are. But understand that improving your aerobic base and keeping you prepared for the 2025 season will require consistency with time on your feet. So then when the spring rolls around, you will be ready to increase your volume, increase your intensity, and prepare for that peak season in the summer or fall. When it comes to the intensity of your runs in the off season, we want to make sure that we're keeping the intensity low, but that doesn't mean that we're never going to have any high intensity. So I don't want us to mistake that before we get into our variations of rate of perceived exertion and heart rate zones. So if you are somebody that is newer to running, and I mean newer like within the last year, or you're somebody that is picking it up after 3+ months off of training, let's start with the rate of perceived exertion, and we are going to focus on keeping the intensity low for the most part. And again, you will have some days where you'll have higher intensity, where you'll be pushing your effort a little bit more, but in general, most of your sessions are going to be lower intensity. If you're somebody that is using heart rate zones, that is going to be primarily in zone 2. Now again, that doesn't mean that we aren't going to see the rest of the zones. We are going to have some higher heart rate days because that's how training is. We need to adapt. We need to still work on speed. We need to work on power, things like that. But most of our sessions are going to be involved in zone 2. So that is an overview of your aerobic base and how you're going to build your aerobic base over this off season. Now, to combine both pieces of strength training and running, this is where the magic happens. So we want to create a schedule that is going to fit you, your goals, and your schedule. So without those 3 components, we're not going to have consistency. We must meet those 3 components before we create any type of schedule. For your off season, at minimum, I would have 2 days of strength and 2 days of runs. Now that doesn't mean you have to do 4 days of workouts per week, although I think that is fairly ideal. I understand that not everybody has that time and that doesn't always work with people's schedules. So if you must stack them on each day, that's okay, but I would try to consistently have about 2 days of cardio and 2 days of lifting to really carry that through the off season and make sure that you are hitting the volume that you need in order to have a successful trail season next year. If you are somebody that is going to have to stack your workouts on the same day, I would really try to aim to have your lift before your run. But again, done is better than perfect, so getting both of your sessions in or all of your sessions in is priority at minimum. Now, if you're wondering why the heck you would even train throughout the off season and what the benefits might be, well, to keep it simple, if you want to get better at running, you need to run. We need to continue running throughout the off season if you want to have a strong season in 2025. As for strength training, the benefits are endless, but we do want to make sure that you are feeling strong and powerful, so then when the 2025 trail season comes along, you are feeling capable, you are feeling good on the descents, we're hopefully not rolling any ankles, and you can probably carry a heavier pack or a heavier vest when you're on the trails. If you want to feel more comfortable and prepared for the trail season in 2025, you will strength train and run and do it consistently. To take the guesswork out of your training, join our hybrid training program, Kathletics Trail, by clicking the link in the description. See you next time.